Green Disc Studios presents.
Alright, welcome to Amateur Hour Gear Reviews. So this week I am going to talk about a piece of gear that is near and dear to my heart. You're seeing it on your screen right now. It is the Orange Acoustic Pre Twin Channel. This is a discontinued piece of gear, and it came out, I don't know, maybe in 2018-ish, 2017, 2018. I probably heard about it 2019, something like that. And the history behind this unit is there was an audio engineer or preamp maker named Dennis Marshall, and he created an acoustic preamp that people seemed to really like, and it was sort of an underground hit. They were in high demand. They had a little tube inside, the 12AX7 tube, and this guy, Dennis Marshall, knew another guy named Martin Taylor, who's a fingerstyle jazz guitar player. And Martin Taylor started to play Dennis Marshall's preamp on his professional tours and really loved it. And then the two of them got together, and they contacted Orange, and they wanted to use basically Dennis Marshall's preamp circuitry and architecture, but do a little something different with it. So they added a second channel and some other bells and whistles, and ended up with this product called the Orange Acoustic Pre Twin Channel. So the original Dennis Marshall part would have just been this channel A part with this sort of unique heat knob. And the heat knob is where you're kind of dialing in the intensity of the tube and getting tube saturation. And the way he envisioned it was you would plug an acoustic guitar into the channel A input, and you have your usual EQ. You have this very nice reverb on the unit, and you could add this little bit of tube saturation to the acoustic guitar tone. And Orange also added the solid state channel, channel B, which doesn't have the tube saturation. It's a much cleaner, more straightforward preamp. And the idea was, well, you could do a lot of things with it. You could plug in a microphone, and you could mic your acoustic as well as plug your acoustic in direct, and you could blend the two sounds, and you could use these various phase inversion switches and whatnot to make sure you weren't getting phase issues. And you could also use the mic channel just for a vocal mic. Like right now I'm speaking through a Shure SM86. And so you could do vocals and play acoustic both through this unit. And channel A would be sent out the left XLR, channel B is sent out the right XLR. And there's also an output that's a mix of the two. That's a 1/4 inch output. So you could basically send a 1/4 inch output to a PA system, which I often do. I have like the Bose S1 Pro. And if you send the 1/4 inch output into the line input of the Bose S1 Pro, and you set up a vocal microphone here, and you just plug your acoustic in here, dial it in, it sounds very good. It sounds a million times better than plugging directly into the S1 Pro. And that's basically what I use it for. One limitation on the unit is you have one reverb. And this reverb sounds great. And the reverb is shared by both channels. So if you're playing it just acoustic guitar and you wanted a very nice stereo reverb, you could jumper the send from channel A into the return of channel B. And then you would get the acoustic guitar coming out both channels, and you would have a very nice stereo reverb. And that's the way that I use this unit in the studio, and it sounds great. You could also do the same with vocals. You could have beautiful stereo vocals with the stereo reverb. But if you're using a shared reverb, of course, you have to dial it in a way that sort of fits both the acoustic and the vocals, and it just sounds great. It's just a very simple way to just run your acoustic and vocals and play live. But if you wanted to have, different levels of reverb on the vocals and guitar, you could utilize the effects loop. So there's two effects loops, one for channel A, one for channel B, and you could just have, a separate reverb unit going into your vocals if you wanted to have more reverb on the vocals, or you could even have a stereo effect unit utilizing both sends and returns, and then those stereo effect units would affect both channels. And again, if you're only using the guitar, you just have this like fantastic stereo acoustic guitar stuff. If you're using the vocals too, then the stereo effects would affect both channels. So anyway, this unit, it retailed for something insane, like $899 or something when it came out. It was reviewed by some of the usual suspects, Pete Thorn, Mary Spender, some other folks. I don't know why it was discontinued. It's probably just because it's just too expensive. And it didn't really sell that well. But when I got interested in it, it had already been discontinued. By the time I had gotten very gassed up about it, I couldn't find it. And it was very difficult to find. There are none on the used market right now, with the exception of one listing on eBay, which I wouldn't trust. It's been up there forever. There's one blurry picture of the unit, and I don't think it's a legit thing. But anytime it goes up on the Reverb site, these things disappear immediately. I actually found one in Australia at a music store, and I got it for a great price. I don't know if it had to do with the exchange between currencies or whatever, but the guy that worked at the shop was nice enough to pack it up and send it all the way from Australia to the United States, and I got my hands on it. And this is one of those pieces of gear where, like many of the stuff that I have lying around my studio, it's a questionable acquisition. I mean, do you really need this? I mean, the guitar that I have in my hand right now is a Rain Song acoustic carbon fiber guitar. It has a preamp in it, one of the LR Baggs Anthems. So you already have a preamp, and you can get really cheap preamp pedals if you wanted extra functionality. So the idea that one would pay, a huge price to have a very fancy acoustic preamp seems crazy to most people, and even to me. But anyway, for whatever reason, the look of it, I got, fooled by the idea that, somehow having a tube in something was going to make it amazing. And it does sound cool, the heat function, but it's a very subtle effect. Even if you crank the heat when you have your guitar in, you can't notice it too much. But anyway, it is a piece of high-end gear for sure. I mean, it sounds excellent. I do have it set up. I could try to do, a quick sound sample, but, I'm sure it's not going to sound incredible. Let me see here. All right. So as far as the heat knob goes, you can kind of hear it if you crank it, that there's a bit of a difference there, but like I said, it's subtle. My guitar is very bassy, so I'm like knocking down the bass here. And so how I would typically use it, I would dial in, probably too much reverb because that's how I like it. And you would get separate channels left and right with the acoustic, and like I said, it sounds fantastic in a live setting, but this is just a quick rundown of how it sounds. I can't get that sound you make out of my head. I can't even figure out what's making it. And like that. So I've used this in the studio. I've used it live, and I think it sounds awesome and it's cool. So not many people out there will have it. If you do have one, then I'm just putting this video up as a place where we can, the few and the proud can chat about it. But if you want to get one, good luck. If it comes up used, like I said, it's probably going to be expensive, but it's cool and it sounds great. So that's going to be it for me this week. Take care.